Well, good morning to you all, good morning. Thursday, the 12th of March 2020. I've done everything that I think I needed to do that isn't directly involved in the house. I've been to the market, I've bought fish, I've bought vegetables, I've been to the déchetterie and I've got rid of some gravate rubble. This is Mézières-en-Brenne. Oh, the most important thing I did today, I went to the firm that supplies what Englishmen will call RSJs, steel beams, poutrelles. That was a very good, profitable visit, and now we're going to go back to Azay-le-Ferron. Now, it took me a little bit longer than perhaps I would have hoped, because one of the great things here, the people are here they would say très gentil, très gentil. When I got to the vegetable stall, the lady there incidentally speaks better English than I do. So if you are visiting this part of the world, that's something to remember. The lady on the vegetable stall speaks good English. We try to speak French always, but you know. In front of me was a lady who charitably could be described as being of advanced years. Now, it is a joy to me to watch the way that people interact, because where I come from, people would have started to huff and puff, because bless her, this lady was struggling to remember what it was she wanted. Now, the other people in the queue for vegetables and the lady on the stall very gently interrogated her, and between them, remembering what she bought last week and remembering what she normally buys, between the lady on the stall and the other customers, they made sure that when this lady left, she had all of the things she wanted. And that took some time. But that's fine, isn't it? Actually, in truth. Anyway, let's rush back to Azay-le-Ferron and do some work. I think it's going to be indoor work, don't you? Well, it's stopped raining. That's good. I've stuck the trusty Skoda out in the back garden. Not because it makes the flowers look prettier, but because tomorrow I've got a delivery coming and it would be in the way if I left it in front of the house. So I better get my... Oh, they look pretty. That's the trouble with living in a lovely environment. There's always something else to look at. These roses are doing very, very nicely. I'm pleased with that. The leeks aren't doing too bad. Leeks, they're not leeks, they're onions. They're not doing too bad. The ground is a bit too soggy to do any potato planting today. This is all part of learning the language. They don't say soggy, of course. They will use the word moué. C'est trop moué. Look at that. This is pleasing. I know it all wants weeding, but these are some cuttings that I took from gooseberry bushes last year, and they're doing nicely. The reason I put stakes there was because I knew that sooner or later I run the risk of running them over with a lawnmower, so I put stakes there just to stop me doing that. But that's pleasing. Right, enough. I've got serious work to be doing. Now, some of you have very kindly given some thoughts on how to repair this A-frame. Yeah, it's going to be an interesting activity. The beam itself that's got this sort of terminal crack in it, it sits on the wall, and bits of the roof structure sit on the ends of it, and it's mortise and tenoned to these pieces of the A-frame. Now, that really is a tenon that comes through at the angle, which creates the problem that the only way that that beam can come out without taking the rest of it out is this has got to be dropped. Now, okay, with everything scaffolded up and braced, there's not a great deal of difficulty in putting a chainsaw through it and taking the old one out, but getting the new one in would be rather comical. So right at the moment I'm taking a lazy view that it's not about to fall down. It's got this rather shabby sort of beam underneath it. I guess whoever put that in thought that would solve the problem temporarily. Now, when we say temporarily, if you look at this conduit, wooden conduit, these electrics were fitted way back at the very latest in the 1960s. So this temporary repair, this sort of lash up bodge job, has survived best part of 60 years. And the wire that's up there, that's horrible. I don't know who thought that was a good idea, but you know, clearly somebody did. That was put in, and I know this having done the work to remove the old ceiling. That was put in before the ceiling went up. I think the ceiling had been there around about 100 years. So if I seem a little bit laid back and a bit too prosaic, a bit too sang-froid about the whole thing, well, you know, it's sat like that for 100 years. I take a bit of a view that another few weeks ain't going to be too much of a problem. It is a shame that it wasn't repaired before the roof was put on. That would have been the sensible thing to do. You know, lift it off, take it apart, rebuild it. But whoever put the roof on, they just didn't do that. They just slapped the roof on top of what was there. So there we are. These beams, now most of them simply were there to hold the ceiling up. So if we look at this this beam, there's very little to recommend leaving that there. It simply held the ceiling up. Didn't do anything else. While I'm waving the camera about, I'm a little bit conscious that right in front of me is a hole. So let's concentrate on not falling down the hole. Okay, there we are. We didn't fall down the hole. Yeah, and some of these beams, you know, that's got more wormholes in it than I care to think about. And it doesn't do anything. It's not tied to the wall, it just sits on the wall. Doesn't hold the building together. Again, it simply held the ceiling up. And looking at it, what that beam's next job is cooking my dinner throughout next winter. You know, that's going to be cut up and turned into firewood. The next one, on the other hand, is an oak beam. Again, it doesn't tie the building together at all. Just sits there. It did hold up the ceiling that has come out. Just sits on the wall. That one again. But then we look at the next one, and we've got another of these wonderful frames. And of course that will be staying. What it will do, or what it will get, is washing over with various sorts of preserver, and I'm told it's going to get some varnish and stuff like that to make it pretty. And it will be a sort of feature in the building. But you see, this is where you need to sort of squint a bit and imagine, because where I'm standing right at the moment is going to be a stud wall separating the bathroom from the corridor that will lead to my bedroom. So yeah, I've got the vision of what I want it to look like. And yeah, the way you need to do this is to stand in the middle of it and feel it. But standing looking at it, I've probably done enough of that for one morning. So I'm now going to get on with things.